Tonight's Telstra top story. Bulldogs GM of football Phil Gould has slammed reports from Phil Rothfield that Canterbury attempted to lure Tino Fa'asuamaleaui to their club on a 4-year, $4 million deal that also included an offer to buy shares in a pub. In a moment, Buzz has his say, but first, here's how Phil Gould addressed the story last night.
Arthur Laundy, who is the major sponsor of the Bulldogs, called me this morning extremely upset with the article in the paper and its insinuations. I believe he's taken it up with the author of those accusations. It's totally untrue. I've never spoken to Tino. I've never met Tino. I wouldn't know who managed Tino. It's never been discussed within our club. This article has just come out of left field. Someone's added 2 and 2 together and got 5. Again, along the lines of trying to destabilise our club, which has been a pretty common theme right throughout this season, and in fact ever since I joined the club. It's just a continuing childish thing that they do. I feel sorry that people like Arthur Laundy get drawn into this. He's very, very upset with the article. I've spoken to him again this evening, and we'll just have to move on from it. But Tino Fa'asuamaleaui is not coming to the Bulldogs, and we have not offered him a contract, and certainly no one's getting a share of a pub.
Okay.
It's made up. Someone's made it up.
So it's been made up to just destabilise the Bulldogs?
100%.
Because you run the Bulldogs?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Do you want any other reason?
No,
you do it yourself.
No.
You do it yourself. You do it yourself. You do it to destabilise me all the time.
Gal,
You've done it a number of times.
Get the popcorn, Gal.
You've been that wrong that many times, it's not funny. Yeah.
Here we go. What have I done?
Come on, young whippersnapper.
What have I done?
Plenty of times.
What?
You want me to list them for you?
Let's go.
Yeah, plenty of times. Plenty of times. Plenty of times.
Tell me, I'm ready.
I couldn't be bothered. You're not worth it. The author of the article rang Laundy on Friday or Saturday to talk about it, not saying that he was going to write anything about it, not saying that he was going to be quoted, and to which Arthur tells me quite emphatically he denied any knowledge of any Tino recruitment. You read the article today, you would think it's a done deal.
Well, we've got Buzz Rothfield on the show 2 nights in a row to respond to this story. Gus Gould denied all of it, said that you put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5, and said you were just trying to destabilise the club and the Canterbury Bulldogs. What's your response to it?
Well, I'll start off by saying what you've just played on television there was a complete misrepresentation of the facts of the story that I wrote. It was absolutely no attempt to destabilise Canterbury whatsoever. Gus is doing a pretty good job of himself. You look at the premiership ladder, he's under a lot of pressure. He's on $800,000–900,000 a year. He might tell you they're not going backwards, but at the end of last season they were in 12th, they're now 15th, and they've got the worst for and against in the competition. I honestly think he's feeling the pressure there. I'll take you through, Braith, how the story came about. I worked on this all weekend, okay? Not Friday, I didn't make a call to Arthur on Friday, it was actually Sunday. 2 Sydney clubs told me over the weekend they'd pulled out of the race for Tino because they'd heard that they couldn't beat Canterbury, that they were offering $1 million a year, and they were offering investment opportunity, money-back guarantee with the Bulldogs. So I spoke to Tino's manager, Simon Mamina, who confirmed the interest in the Bulldogs, said there was a meeting that was going to take place. He said he'd leave it to after Origin and then have that meeting. Didn't talk about the pub, so I thought, next step, I've got to confirm the pub side of the story.
So you're just there, you spoke to his agent,
Yeah.
and his agent was meeting the Bulldogs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd been approached by the Bulldogs.
Okay.
So the next part of pulling... I also spoke to player managers. I spoke to you on Saturday night, Bray, and I spoke to a couple of other agents to get a better understanding of how the Melbourne Storm investment with Better, the bookmaking firm, works and how this could possibly work with the pubs. My last job on Sunday at lunchtime was to ring Arthur Laundy himself, the boss of Laundy Hotels, a billionaire, major sponsor of the Bulldogs. We had a 10-minute conversation. He took me through it blow by blow, how he was going to achieve this, how Canterbury is so low down on the ladder that they've got to pay overs to get players. They're not the Roosters, they're not Storm, they're not South, it's harder. And he's in there trying to help them. Gus has blown up because his club has been exposed for an obvious attempt to rort the cap, and I don't care what anyone else said. That's why he's blown up. He's been exposed, he's been caught out with it.
Was it off the record? or on the record, did Arthur know that you were going to write the story?
Towards the end of our conversation, I explained, I know Arthur quite well and I've known him for a number of years. I thanked him and I said, mate, this is a really good column for Monday. He said, yeah, no, fine. He said, you know, he then said, let's catch up for lunch. And I said, yeah, sure. But 10 minutes later, he actually rang me back and he said, Buzz, can I change one of my quotes? I'm not comfortable saying that. And I then read him back every quote that was to appear in the column. So what Gus said, that this was a private conversation and was not designed to go into the newspaper, is complete crap.
Well, he made out like you tricked Arthur into the article.
I know he did. I know he did. And I texted Arthur as soon as I saw it on television. Arthur knows the true story. I've got my notes. I've got the whole conversation written down. There was no misrepresentation whatsoever. I honestly feel that by... What am I supposed to do if Arthur says, I'm going to get them 10, 12% of their money, but I'm going to guarantee it, I'm going to give them their money back? Do they really think as a journalist I'm not going to print that? I'll tell you something else. The last team that tried this tactic of giving guaranteed returns on investments were the Parramatta Eels with Corey Norman years ago. They got fined $1 million, right? And they lost competition points. Now, if I hadn't have made this public, right, and Arthur's talking about it, right, this is what he wants to do, wouldn't have happened? Could it have?
Possibly.
That's what he's dirty about, Braith.
Yeah.
How do you feel
I
about...
didn't break one rule of journalism with this story, not one rule. I did 2 days homework on it. I checked facts everywhere I possibly could, and for Gould to get on last night was a disgrace. And I'll tell you something else what he did last night. I have a lot of time for Michael Chammas, the head rugby league writer at the Sydney Morning Herald. He tore him a new one last night.
But he had a chance to return serve then.
Yeah, he did. I didn't though. But it was...
Well, how do you feel that he said that your story's fabricated and you're a liar, basically?
Yeah, well, it's defamatory what he said. It's defamatory. And I'm happy to go into any courtroom with Gus, lay our facts on the table and get to the bottom of it. I am so comfortable with that story, it doesn't matter.
So the facts are, just wrapping this up, the facts are that you've got knowledge and understanding through certain phone calls that you've made to certain people that the Bulldogs definitely contacted Tino and definitely were going to catch up with him, and there was genuine interest there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my job as a journalist. I'll just say one other thing. I spoke about the pressure Gus is under. He's on $800,000-900,000. You know, I'm the only journalist in this town who has held Gus accountable for all his stuff-ups, for retiring Ivan Cleary and said he was tired, for signing Anthony Griffin, extending Anthony Griffin and then sacking him, then walking out with a dummy spit at Penrith when they bought Ivan Cleary back. I'm over it.
All right, thanks, Buzz.
Can I go back to my day off?
You can have your day off now. You can go get your second check in a row too. Send the invoice to Fox Sports.